Hello, Harley DiNardo here, and welcome to this video, the fastest path to getting a record deal and how it could ruin your band. The idea here is that, of course, everybody wants to get signed. And the reason why everyone wants to get signed is because they know how much easier things would be if someone else was handling the marketing, the setting up of gigs, the touring, paying for touring, paying for social media marketing help, all this stuff. And it totally makes sense. But we have to realize that the prize is not the record deal, because we thought that in my band. My band was called Velour, and we ended up signing with a major label. We changed our name to Closer. There's two stories, but I'll start with this one for this video, and then this will be a series, and I'll move on to the other story later because it was the same story, different record label. What I'm trying to get at is I'll give you a bit of my story and the things to look out for along the way, and how I went through it, how I got my record deal, what we did to get our record deal, and how we were let down because we thought it was the prize, when in fact it's just the beginning. It's like when you get a record deal, it's like someone hands you the keys to your dream and you walk in and you have no idea what to do once you're in there. And then it slowly fades. I was in a band. We were called Velour. We were all best friends. We lived in a mansion together. I mean, the mansion was run down. It was my drummer's uncle. I know that sounds like the beginning of a joke. My drummer's uncle, but he was in real estate, and he said, "Hey, do you guys want to kind of just cohabitate in this old rundown mansion? We don't want it to get vandalized. It needs work. It's old, but we don't want it to be abandoned and vandalized. We have to fix it eventually. If you guys live there, just pay utilities. You could rehearse there. You could." So we thought, amazing. We actually rehearsed in one of the ballrooms. So it was very, very cool. And we honed our songs, we honed our craft, and we got close as friends and as a band. Now, the whole thing with this is something changed when we all moved in together and rehearsed there. We ate, breathed, and crafted the music and our goal and our dream. So we all had kind of day jobs. At the time, I was an assistant in a hair salon. Derek, my guitar player, was assistant in a hair salon. And the other guys worked either at a music store or in construction. Everybody was doing something to make a living. But 5 nights a week, we would come together in this old abandoned mansion. And there's so many ghost stories I will make a video about. If you're a band, don't rent a ghostly house. But it didn't matter. The deal was so good. The ghost just had to live with us and deal with it. We practiced in one of the ballrooms, and so it was sick. It was like, just being in a house, a big room with high ceilings. We just had our amps and the drums set up, and we can practice as long as we want, whenever we want. We didn't have to pay for a rehearsal room. It was a sweet deal. Something happened when we moved in that house. Everything started to move really quickly towards getting a record deal. So there's definitely something to be said about the camaraderie of a band. If you guys are living far apart and coming together once or twice a week, I really think that that'll take a lot longer. The fastest path we're talking about, right? So maybe eventually you can end up getting something, but what we want to do is, we don't want it to take 2 years. We don't want it to take a year. We don't even want it to take 6 months. The fact is, once you come together and you commit, you've cut off all other decisions, and you're like, we've decided we're going to do this together, and everybody's committed, in 5 days a week. We're going to practice. We're going to live here. We didn't do anything but do that. And if we weren't rehearsing, Derek and I were writing songs. Pete, my drummer at the time, he had a van, and we lived in New Rochelle, New York, and we were about 30 minutes with no traffic, an hour with traffic, to Manhattan, the city. And the city had a bunch of cool clubs like Mercury Lounge, Arlene's Grocery, Continental. There's a place called The Spiral. These are all places that, like, the Strokes, Yeah, Yeahs, Interpol, they all played. At this time, when we were Velour, we didn't know those guys yet. That came a little bit later in the story. That'll be in another episode, how we knew all them and came together with them. But the idea here is the camaraderie. We rehearsed like crazy. We started booking gigs. We played everywhere we could. We played Mercury. Well, Mercury Lounge was harder because that was a better place. We started at Continental. We started at Arlene's Grocery. And there was a place called Under Acme at the time. And we had a really positive experience there. It was in a basement. It had all these kind of like those kind of like little white lights on the ceiling, and it was low ceilings. It's kind of scary to think about the places we played. It's packed in this place, low ceilings. God forbid something happened. How would we have ever gotten out? But we were young, dumb, and full of excitement. When you're a young band and you start to believe in yourself, and you think, when we'd be sitting there watching the other bands play before we'd go on, we're thinking, we're better than them. You know, we got our shit together more than them. We're more solid. We have better songs. You know, that kind of attitude, it doesn't mean you're not being pompous or a jerk. If you don't believe it, how's anybody else going to believe it? But I just remember feeling that. We'd say, wait till we come on. That was always the vibe. Wait till they see us. That was everything. So of course it was destined to happen. But what we did was we started showing up at other people's shows too. Because in the beginning, we had nothing. We didn't have any fans down there. We all grew up in, you know, Westchester, New York. We didn't live in Manhattan. We didn't, besides a couple of random girlfriends or friends that would come down and see us, we didn't have anybody down there. What we did was we found out about cool shows because we had a manager named Neville Dweck, and he lived in the city. He worked for Atlantic Records. He was in the know, and he'd say, this is a buzz band, this is a buzz band. So when we find out about these buzz bands, one of the best things to do is, if you know anybody in the industry, well, they could be a management company or a friend that works at a label or anybody that's tied in, find out about those shows and show up. That was one of the best things we did, because what happened is the A&R guys start seeing you, and you're around there and you're just the face. But the A&R guys for the other companies, they see you and see you become like familiar, you know, and so they start to wonder who you are. But this creates momentum, and it creates like an energy, which I really truly believe in energy, and everything's electric. So, you know, when you show up, you start to create this little swirl of energy and momentum. We did that. The other thing that we did was we'd get stickers, and we'd put them up on signs. We'd put them up in the bathrooms of the bars. We'd put them on buses. We'd put them, I'm not saying you should go vandalize, but we did that. And so the name started being seen, Velour, 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 you know. And then what happens is things start to take shape, and things will start to happen for you that you didn't even know about, because you put the energy out there. You got to commit, you have to believe, and you have to have the passion, and you have to show up. So one day we come home, we're all living together, and there's a message on the answer machine, and it says, hey, this is so-and-so from Ticketmaster Showcase. You know, 10,000 bands submitted, and we're picking the top 100 in the country. You guys are one of them. We want you to go up to Albany, you know, next month or whatever, and, you know, play a set. And there's going to be 4 other bands, and we're doing this across the whole country. So we do it. A little time goes by. We end up being called again. We were so ecstatic. I remember someone ran in from the bedroom and just like almost slipped and said, they said they want us to go to Chicago, to the Metro in Chicago, and play in front of a packed house of like 1,000 people with 4 other bands for the top 20 in the country. So we did that. And like I said, we'd go on stage and we just felt so confident and so positive, because we had this camaraderie between us. We had a passion, and we had like this energy. We got off, and it was expected, you know. A couple of days later, we get the call, hey, the finale's at the Limelight in New York City, which is where we're from, and everybody's going to be there. You guys are in the top 4. So we're like, damn, all right, we got it, right? So we practiced, we rehearsed and everything. We were very raw and rough around the edges. We played a gig, and I mean, everybody's there. All you could see is like all different people from the industry: managers, small labels, big labels, you know, bookers, everybody, agents, because the buzz started. The top 4 bands in the country, they were picked through A&R guys and managers, and we got into the top 4. We go home after that. I think we took 2nd place or something, but whatever. At that point, all the top 4 were being looked at by management companies. I remember talking to Doc McGee there, who I knew managed Bon Jovi and Motley Crue. There were so many people there. And so we go home, and the next day, someone in the band screams, we're on MTV. I run downstairs, and I see us playing at the Limelight, like just like jamming out on MTV News, and Kurt Loder's talking about us. And we're like, that's it. Like, I just remember calling my sister and being like, we're talking on the phone. And like, so this is it. I'm like, I think this is it. Not long after, we got a call from an A&R guy named Simon Collins. He worked at MCA Records. He said, I want to meet you guys. I'll come up to the house in New Rochelle. I'll rent a car, because in the city, no one has a car. So he had to rent a car, comes up to see us, tells us basically like, you know, I see you guys at clubs, then theaters, then arenas. we never had somebody believe in us like that. And the issue was for Simon was that there's other labels already courting us. Reprise Records, there was a label called Revolution that was on Warner Brothers, Maverick Records. Um, there was a couple, I don't remember them all, but they were starting to court us. They'd taken us to dinners and stuff. So I remember Simon and Michael Rosenblatt, who was the VP of MCA, he had helped sign Madonna. They took us to this steakhouse on the water in Connecticut. And I understand why they wine and dine bands, because when you're broke and you have nothing, we had all stopped working at this point because we thought we're going to get signed. It's inevitable at this point. So we stopped working prematurely. We have like change. We used to split like an egg and cheese and 2 coffees and a pack of cigarettes at that time. We all used to smoke. And then we're good for the day, you know, we just like write songs, drink coffee. So we were broke. So to be taken to a steakhouse and getting this really expensive food and wine, you're like, these guys are like family. They love us, you know? At that point, Simon Collins says, after this next show, we're bringing the president of the company. We want to sign you guys. We're going to sign you, but he just wants to see you. And, you know, we're going to talk after the gig. Okay. So we play the gig. It was at Continental in the city. And we get off and we go to a restaurant down the street. And the president, I forget his name now, he signed REM and he was a big deal. And so he said, you know, I don't know if you guys are ready yet. I think you should make some demos, you know, write some more before you go in and just rush in and make your record. And I look at Simon, you can just see the wind go out of him because he knew we didn't want to hear that because there was other labels already approaching us. So we were ready to go. In retrospect, it might have been a good idea to probably make more demos and wait till you have stronger songs, you know? And so, but we didn't really want to hear that. We're like, demos? You want to make more demos? We're ready. Like, we're just like, this is huge buzz on us. So we're like thinking about it. Then the next day we get a call. Our lawyer was Fred Davis, Clive Davis's son. You know, everybody was kind of talking to us, courting us. He was one of them. And he tells us he got a message from Missy Worth in California, who used to run Columbia Records, who just started a record label called Revolution off of Warner Brothers, with Irving Azoff, who managed the Eagles. They said they want you to fly out to LA tomorrow. Don't sign anything. They want to fly you tomorrow to LA. We'd never even been to LA. We'd never been anywhere. So we pack our bags. We're going to LA, and they fly us to LA, and we have dinner with them. Well, we play like a little showcase for them, and then we have dinner. And they say, listen, I'm going to tell you flat out, we want to sign you guys. We think you're going to be the next this, the next that. Missy had worked with like Jeff Buckley and Stabbing Westward and all these great artists that we admired. And we're just like, I'm kicking Derek under the table. Like, this is all like, it's like your dream unfolding in front of you. And it was like, it's really happening. All those nights, those late nights about writing music, all of those, you know, dreams that we had is just sitting here right in front of us. And it all came from us just like committing, making a decision, and believing in ourselves, moving in together, keeping the energy, rehearsing 5 days a week, and just showing up. You know, it just created this momentum. But here it was. The offer was there. And they said, we think you should go into the studio right away. Who's your favorite producer? So we said, you know, we had a couple of people in mind, but Ed Buller was definitely on the top of the list because he did the London Suede and Pulp and stuff like that. We admired, like worshiped, you know, the Suede albums. And we just, you know, our guitar player loved their guitar player, like everything, the sounds they got. We thought it was amazing. So made the choice to sign with Revolution and Warner Brothers. And I remember the phone call from Michael Rosenblatt and Simon Collins was like, oh man, they were chewing us out. They're like, we were there first, and why the hell are you signing with somebody? I mean, just going off on it. He's screaming at me. I was like, you know, but you know, who knows? You don't know. They wanted to make demos. You know, Revolution was ready to make a record, so we made the choice that we thought was right at the time. You know, after that, we ended up going into the studio with our favorite producer, make the record. We never captured the brass ring. And little by little, the phone calls stopped coming, the dinners stopped happening, and, you know, the meetings gone. You know, it was just like, and no one even said it out loud. It was just over. So the point was this. Our goal was, like, our dream was the record deal. We thought our life was going to change. Like, you get the deal, your life changes, you're a star. you know? Yeah, we were for like a year in our own town, that everybody that knew that what was happening with us. But outside of that, no one knew crap about us. We never got anywhere. So our, the idea of like that the record deal is the end game is ridiculous, because what happened was, once we got the deal, we stopped writing, we stopped, doing things because people were interested. We just thought, here's the keys, you guys are handling it now. All we got to do is look cool and go on tour. And that's what we did. And we ended up getting dropped. So the advice here is, don't ever think that the record deal is, that's the end game. And today, especially, like, yeah, it's nice to have other people help you, but get your fans before they do, because that gives you a lot more control. Because if you don't have fans, you have no power. So do the marketing yourself. Write and write and write. Don't stop because someone's interested. That's like the worst thing you could do. What you need to do is continue to write, continue to act as if they're not there, and use them as a crutch if they do come, because these days they're not even going to be like some Ticketmaster showcase. It's usually you have to blow up on YouTube or on Instagram or TikTok before they even talk to you. So get your fans before they do. Don't like stop doing anything because there's interest, and definitely say no more often. Like, stick to your guns. The deal, it should be like right here, and you should be going up here. So like that deal, we thought the deal was here. Like, you get the record deal, you're signed. Like, that was always the thing. And people talk about get signed, get signed, get signed. And you get signed, and then shit happens, and you're nowhere. Then you're back home, and you start, instead of patting each other on the back, you start pointing fingers. It was your fault. It was his fault. He didn't show up for practice. The fact is, he's not showing up for practice because he's just kind of defeated and bored. And he's like, nothing's happening. What's the point? So the thing is, if you look like at some people that have turned down deals and maybe they should have took the deal, not saying that record companies are all bad. I'm just saying that that's not the end game. Like, when they do come knocking, you should already have your shit together so that you have bargaining control. When they come down and you say, like, we don't really need you, so what are you offering us? They'll be coming to the table with a lot more than just saying, here's this crappy deal where we take everything because you guys have nothing. We're just basing this on your, good songs. But if you already have a YouTube following and millions of views or millions of listens on spins on Spotify, they're going to be like, hey, how could we help you and serve you? Then you can make a better deal. You can become a partnership. But don't just like think that the deal is the end game and, just try to do that. Do all this stuff I said at the beginning of this, but just keep going, even when the labels do come knocking, So stay tuned for the next episode. What I did after we got dropped, it just started again, and the whole machine started again. So please watch the next video and subscribe and like this video. Have a great day.